What if I told you that Hamilton's career data after Hungary 2025 are not only worrisome, but could anticipate their Ferrari exit earlier than expected? Hungary has historically been Lewis Hamilton's fief. In this circuit, known for its technical and demanding layout, the British has forged some of his most memorable victories. 8 triumphs, impeccable and iconic remote poles. However, in 2025, all this glorious past vanished in a matter of days. The image that Hamilton left in Hungary was disconcerting, almost painful. He ended up in the 12th position, folded, without options to fight for relevant points and completely eclipsed by his partner Charles Leclerc, who was not only faster in classification, but also rose to the podium. The direct comparison was brutal. The most eloquent data is not only in the final position, but in how that fall was created. Hamilton failed to move to Q3 in classification, staying at 0.35 seconds of cut. That difference in a pilot of his caliber is not simply bad luck or a bad return. It is a sign that the car does not respond, or worse, that it does not understand it. The gap with Leclerc was 4/10, and that in modern F1 is an eternity. For a world champion with more than 100 poles and victories in his record, that disadvantage is unsustainable. Telemetry data confirmed what everyone suspected. Lewis could not extract anything else from SF25 on that weekend. Beyond the numbers, which lit all alarms, was their body language and, above all, their statements. When a Hamilton-caliber pilot describes his own work as useless to the media, it is not a technical criticism, it is an emotional admission of defeat. But the true earthquake came later, when he publicly hinted that perhaps Ferrari needs another pilot. A phrase loaded with tension, with multiple layers of interpretation. Was he speaking from frustration or sliding a threat? Is it an internal notice or an ongoing break? In any other pilot, it would be media noise. In Lewis Hamilton, it is a change of narrative, the beginning of a break. And that fracture is not just internal. It is visible in its piloting. Throughout the weekend, Hamilton showed indecision in rapid curves, conservative entries in sectors where he was previously aggressive, and even errors in the choice of paths that he normally dominates. The SF25 demands surgical precision to stay in the optimal operation window, and Lewis does not seem to have yet found it. His radios with the wall reflected constant discomfort, unexpected survival, loss of traction, and difficulties in generating temperature in the tires. Elements that, although affect all pilots, in their case they seem persistent. It is evident that Hungary was not an anomaly. It was the crystallization of a trend. And the question that begins to float in the paddock is uncomfortable but inevitable. Are we seeing Hamilton's competitive decline, or simply an adaptation that needs more time? Because what happened in Budapest was not a bad day. It was a symptom of something bigger, more structural, deeper. And in Formula One, when a symptom is repeated, it is no longer a warning. It is a diagnosis. The figures speak with a disturbing clarity. Its total points so far is 109. Leclerc, its teammate, has accumulated 151. A difference of more than 40 points within the same structure, without abandonment that can justify it, is an unequivocal sign of performance inequality. And if we spread a little more in the details, the panorama worsens. Charles Leclerc has achieved 5 podiums in 2025. He has been consistently in the top 3 in multiple scenarios, both in dry and mixed conditions. Hamilton, on the other hand, has failed to break the top 3 on any occasion. Its best result has been a 4th place. Repeated 4 times, but always on the edge, never with a real threat of victory or even podium. The classification situation is equally worrying. While Leclerc averages an exit position in the 4th row with an average of 4.7, Hamilton does it from much further back with an average of 8.9. In terms of modern F1, where the margins are millimeter, going back is equivalent to mortgage the result even before the traffic light goes out. That disadvantage on the grille is not just due to the car. It is mainly due to Lewis's difficulty to heat tires, to find the balance of the SF25 in laps launched, and to feel comfortable under pressure in an environment where errors are not forgiven. But the most disconcerting is that this is not a streak of 3 or 4 bad races. It is a trend sustained since the beginning of the calendar. In Bahrain, the car already showed signs of having a narrow operation window, but Leclerc managed to take it to 2nd place. Hamilton, on the other hand, did not find the rhythm. In Australia, a circuit where he debuted with Ferrari and had all the motivation on top, ended behind even the Mercedes. And in races like Imola or Monaco, where the pilot's ability can make a difference greater than the machine, it was not able to stand out. His lack of impact on these scenarios ends up confirming that the problem is not circumstantial. It is systemic. In contrast, its adaptation to the Ferrari environment has been much slower than expected. While it was thought that his experience would be an immediate advantage, the reality is that he continues to discover how to take advantage of SF25 career after career. And although he has struggled to modify his driving style, even imitating Leclerc techniques as well as releasing the accelerator to maintain a faster minimal speed and curve, the connection with the car has simply not occurred naturally. In fact, in Budapest he admitted that he is barely beginning to make the changes that should have been made from the beginning. A phrase that not only betrays a lack of trust, but also a disconnection with the technical team and internal development processes. This set of data and sensations draw a gloomy panorama for the British pilot. It is not a bad streak. It is a season that, until now, is leaving him out of the fight for any title, and that calls into question the success of his signing by Ferrari. Because when there are no podiums, there are no poles, and there is no trust. What remains is a doubt. Is this the principle of the competitive end for one of the best of all time? The operation window is the range of settings in which a car offers its best performance. In the case of SF25, that window is very close. If the car adjusts for a type of curve, it suffers in the others. If you adapt to heat, you lose grip in the cold. And each circuit has peculiarities that require completely reconfiguring that base. For Leclerc, which has been developing this car's concept for years, the process is intuitive. For Hamilton, which comes from another completely different technical environment, it is like learning a language from scratch. While they record you live, Hamilton has faced difficult situations before. He has lost titles in the last round, he has had strong companions, has dealt with unstable cars. But never, in his entire career, had been so long outside the top three, without even glimpsing the possibility of a victory. And the great irony is that it is not failing due to lack of speed. It is still one of the best pilots in pure rhythm. What is failing is the relationship between pilot and car. And when that relationship fractures, patches are not enough. You need to rebuild from scratch, or make drastic decisions. What happens from now on with Hamilton not only defines his immediate future in Ferrari, but could rewrite the competitive outcome of the entire 2025 season. At this point in the championship, Ferrari has no room for sentimentalisms or margin for experiments. McLaren leads with authority, Mercedes has taken a step forward with Russell and Antonelli, and Red Bull, although unstable, has found in Verstappen his anchor point. For Ferrari, every weekend without the two pilots to the maximum, it represents points that escape. And in a championship as tight as this year, that is a direct threat to their position in builders. Within Maranello's garage, the pressure is total. The technical dome needs quick decisions. The team knows that it cannot continue depending exclusively on Leclerc's performance to stay competitive. And here appears a delicate situation. If Hamilton does not react in the next two major awards, it would not be unreasonable for the team to begin to evaluate alternatives. The calendar does not respond. Zandvoort will be a high-load track, where aerodynamic balance and confidence in medium curve are fundamental. It is a technical scene where the difference between a well-adjusted car and another balanced evil is amplified. If Hamilton does not show clear signs of adaptation in that environment, the alarm will cease to be internal. It will be public. But the big question is not alone in the present. It is on the horizon. Because if this season ends without victories, without podiums, and even with Leclerc ahead on all fronts, what is Hamilton's future within the Ferrari project? Are we facing a longer adaptation phase than expected, or in front of deep incompatibility, difficult to solve in the short term? The success margins are so narrow that if you are not adding, you are subtracting. And at this point there is something that we cannot ignore: age. Hamilton is not old for current athletic standards, but on an increasingly young grill, where pilots such as Antonelli, Patrai or Bortolito are breaking with speed and freshness, each season counts. The British pilot has always challenged that narrative, demonstrating that the experience is also a competitive advantage. But for that to remain true, it needs results, and need them now. The hardest part is that there is no clear solution. It is not simply waiting for a more favorable circuit to arrive. Hungary was. It is not about trusting a miraculous technical improvement. Ferrari has already delivered it in Austria and Spa. What is missing now is something deeper, an emotional and technical reconstruction that allows Hamilton to meet his essence as a pilot. And that, at this point in his career, it is not a guarantee. It is a challenge, perhaps the most complex of his sports life. And that is why what happens in the next races will have a huge weight. Not only for Ferrari, but for Hamilton's own legend. Because if you manage to reverse this situation, if you manage to tame SF25 and return to the podium, you will not only save your season, it will redefine your legacy. Not like the pilot who closed his career in free fall, but as the one who knew how to reinvent himself once again, even in the most adverse conditions. But if it does not, if the current pattern is maintained, if the disagreement with the car and the team persists, we will be attending an unexpected outcome. One that will force Ferrari to make unpopular decisions, and fans to face the possibility that Hamilton's last stage is not the dream coronation, but a slow fading. And now it's your turn. Do you think Hungary was the background, or just a stop in a longer adaptation process? Are we exaggerating the decline or simply anticipating the inevitable? Leave it in the comments.